كنا مسكت 5 سنين في فترة العمل ده حتى كنا بنشتغل.
مساء الخير. Hello everybody, good afternoon.
First, we have to
Until we have the presentation ready, let me...
Bassem, just a minute, please. My name is Mohammed Abu Zahad. I am the chair of this session with my colleague, Dr. Sharif Hashima. It's our pleasure today to have Engineer Bassem Boshra. Engineer Bassem is the COE and founder of SPIME Sense Lab, working on IoT and embedded systems. The title of his presentation is IoT Technology Trends and Impact on Job Profiles. Please start. You have about half an hour.
Great. Thank you everybody for inviting me to be with you today. Today I'm wearing two hats. I'm the invited speaker from ITI, Information Technology Institute. In this hat, I'm the consultant for IoT and telecommunication tracks. I'm sure you know ITI. These are the postgraduate studies, postgraduate study diploma for hands-on for new graduates. The second hat is that I'm a CEO of SPIME Sense Labs, a company specialized in providing IoT solutions based on Master of Things. We will see what is that in a couple of slides. Very quickly, our company has been established in late 2013, so we are 10 years in the market. Before that, I used to be working for Ericsson almost 15 years. Before that, NCR for internet banking, and earlier, I'm a graduate of the Information Technology Institute myself. Quickly, since 2022 and onward, these are the most recent projects that we have done. Some of them are governmental projects, some of them are for private sector. We're also in Mesh Nation international reports as a top 15 platform provider worldwide since 2022. So we're in 21, we were in top 20, and 22 we are in top 15. For sample of the projects, what IoT can really do, I'm putting a couple of projects here. One is that we are doing for the government, that's for Upper Egypt Development Agency. This is to enhance the quality of life of people living in Upper Egypt. That's mainly changing the central stations instead of being a crowded place, unorganized, to be something that's tidy, nice to be, quick to take you to your destination. These are 9 IoT solutions in each central station. The first central station launched a couple of years ago now. This is in Fayoum City. It is called حواتم. موقف الحواتم. ممكن حضراتكم, whoever is from Fayoum City can have, he sure knows about what's حواتم. The second one is a private sector. This is a street lighting, managing the street lighting, controlling the street lighting. Usually this is for smart cities, but this one is very unique because it is applied inside a park. And the park has different ways of working when it comes to lighting. They don't want to save the power for lighting. but it's more of making sure that the light is very well presented for everyone in the park during the working hours of the park, which differs from a day to the other. Weekends are different from weekdays. Summer are different from winter. Private ceremonies or private events are presented or gathered in the park would also differ the timing. Managing the lighting of the park, these are the lighting pools, and the park needs to control group of pools, gather each group differently on a different day, on a different time. They make their own groups of pools, and then it changes the light level of these dynamically depending on the situation. We also have been working with ITI for those 10 years. The most, I would say, the tremendous effort we've been doing with ITI is establishing Egypt IoT Labs. That's a program that is sponsored by Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. Today, we have 11 labs distributed over Egypt, 7 of them inside ITI branches, and 4 of them are in governmental universities, sponsored by Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, where we have different types of IoT innovation kits, different types of IoT commercial devices, different types of IoT wireless communications, various IoT gateways, depending on the communication type we're using, and an IoT application enablement platform. That's our main product, which we call it Master of Things. Okay, then let's jump quickly into what is really an IoT solution. We all hear about IoT from different types of perspectives. An electronics background person will talk about IoT differently from the wireless communication guy who would talk about it totally different. The guys who are coming from computer science would talk differently about it, different or other than the ones who are coming from computer engineering background. So IoT is really a mix of all of those. We call it the IoT value chain. So everyone has a value inside this chain. Everyone has a component in this value chain. The value chain starts by devices. Those are different types of devices. Usually these are different types of systems, computer systems. So these devices could vary from the size of being 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter up to it could be a street lighting pole, 10 or 12 meters height. It could be somewhere in between as a monitor or a screen that you can remotely control, or a self-driving autonomous vehicles. Would it be autonomous scooters, autonomous bikes, or buses? So these are computerized devices, very similar to what we have in our hands as the phones. So when we present the IoT value chain, we usually take the mobile applications value chain. Everybody knows about this. Everybody has his own phone. That's very similar to the IoT device. On top of the phone, there is an operating system, Android or iOS. On top of it, there is some applications. Similarly, the same setup would exist on these IoT devices. The operating system here, we usually call it RTOS or real-time operating system. Then this needs to transfer data to the outside world. For this data to be transferred from your phone, you usually use your Wi-Fi. There's a similar type of wireless communications for IoT devices. Those are now more than 50, 60 different types of wireless communication networks, where the famous ones are LoRa, and then it became LoRaWAN. Bluetooth Low Energy is very famous now, and then narrowband IoT and Sigfox comes later as carrier networks similar to the 4G in your hands, in your phone. If you're using the short distance communications, similar to the Wi-Fi, or in an analogy to the Wi-Fi, because it's really different, then you can transmit data from these devices. If this is Bluetooth Low Energy, you're transmitting data up to 150 meters in version 4. 300 meters practically in version 5. If you're using LoRa and LoRaWAN, you can transmit data up to 15 kilometers. Once the data is transmitted from the devices, it will be received from the gateways. This is very similar to what you have in your home as a Wi-Fi router or access point. The data later flies to over the carrier networks to reach somewhere on the cloud. If this is WhatsApp on your phone, then it's sending data to the WhatsApp server. If these are the IoT devices, then it would be sending data to an IoT application enablement platform. And in this case, this is Master of Things. On top of the servers, on top of the platforms running in the cloud, there would be different applications. Those could be serving for smart cities or could be serving for home consumer applications. In between, you have all the self-driving and autonomous connected devices or body and health management or building management. There could be other categories of applications like military use cases, like gaming, but those are very few customers that will be using it. So if we will do IoT solutions, these are the components of any IoT solution. To do this, you really need to understand the details of every component of those. This will take a lot of time to go through it. Every component of the value chain has different alternatives that would suit a different situation, a different use case, a different geographical area or geographical location. We will go through this one in the detailed session in the IoT smart city solutions, maturity solutions after the break. When we study this, we usually need, if we take the full-fledged study, it takes up to 9 months. That's why we have a 9 months postgraduate diploma in IoT and ITI. We have also another diploma for 3 months when we take this in a quicker version. And for the undergraduates, you can have it as part of the 5 days training during the summer or mid-year vacation. Okay, so if we're developing an IoT solution, we will usually, or most probably will be doing the solution to fit in one of those 5 big pillars or 5 main categories. In our company, we are very much focused on the smart cities. That's where we work with governmental institutions or gated communities for private sector. We also partner with telecom providers, telecom service providers. Like in Egypt, our partner is Orange. So all the IoT solutions you could have from Orange as a corporate organization is actually running on Master of Things IoT application enablement platform. Okay, how many jobs do we think that we can have based on IoT? How many jobs will be generated in the future? There has been studies back in 2013 saying that by 2020, which passed already, we should see 50 billion connected devices. Who has been saying so? This has been said from everybody, Ericsson, Cisco, IBM, and put your head to the sky. Everybody was saying the same exact estimations. When 2020 has passed, we couldn't even pass or exceed 25 billion connected devices. We couldn't reach that due to different situations, COVID, wars, economic situations. So now everybody is very much conservative about in 2025, we will have 25 billion connected devices. That's what everyone is very sure. This would be the minimum. It could go up to 30. Okay, but if you have this number, how many applications would be generated? If these numbers are the number of devices in all these categories, there has been some sort of formula that if you divide this by 1,000, you get the number of applications. That means you could have 25 billion divided by 1,000 and then multiply this by 5 jobs. Every application would have at least 5 jobs. then you will have 125 software-related jobs in IoT. These jobs would be solution architect / system analyst, application developer, service engineer or system integration engineer that will do installation and configuration and setting up on the customer side. And then the technical support guys who are actually system engineers, and then the technical pre-sales person. We will go into details about the job profiles in a later slide. Now let's look at what are really the trendy activities that's happening in the IoT world. When I say trendy, I mean things that everybody's eager to do in a live environment, not on a research or on a future, but what's happening now on the market from an industrial perspective. Asset tracking is becoming very trendy, and I would say starting from last year. Asset tracking includes as well tracking technologies for indoor, not for the outdoor, tracking assets, tracking personnel, tracking workers, tracking kids. So in a park, you need to know where are your kids wasting their time around you. If you are working in a tunnel for new administrative capital, العاصمة الإدارية الجديدة, these tunnels would be kilometers long. And if you have workers working there, you need to figure out where are these workers to be able to help them in emergency situations. Not to monitor how they are doing, but to be ready to help them if there's an emergency situation. You need also to track your assets, where these assets would be in such long tunnels. That's the case. These are actual use cases that's being implemented in Egypt. We have not implemented the tunnel one for the new administrative capital due to pricing war, pricing competitions, but we are doing that asset tracking for other customers. I mentioned Z Park for lighting. We're also doing asset tracking for Z Park and Aura developers. If we go quickly about what's happening in the wireless communications when it comes to IoT, we have seen a lot of changes in the wireless communication technologies, different types of wireless communication technologies. I mentioned 50, 60 something. I stopped the counting, but these are the famous ones, and the ones that will survive would be narrowband IoT. That's when we heard in the first presentation about massive IoT. Narrowband has been introduced in 4G as a modification in 4G technologies, and then it continued in 5G under the massive or MTC technical term in the standard of the 5G. Sigfox has been a very innovative network that can transmit data up to 1,000 kilometers with a very low power battery consumption that can survive for a device with a battery life up to 7 years. Today, Sigfox is present in 74 countries. It is headquartered in France, and it is being acquired by a Taiwan-based company called Onabis. LoRa has been like Sigfox that's been invented in France, but now it is the technology IPRs has been acquired by Semtech, an American company, and it's now being transformed to LoRaWAN. It is more of LoRaWAN compared to LoRa is more of a standard payload of data traffic transferred over the network in a standard payload is how do you organize the bytes, okay? So LoRa, when it was invented, nobody looked at how the payload would look like, but it's just a wireless communication. Today, it's more of a LoRaWAN. When I have Zigbee here, I'm just putting it to make sure that nobody touches Zigbee. This is the worst wireless communication you can ever have. It is very famous because it's royalty free. The chips are really cheap, but this is really the shit of wireless communication modems you can ever see. And excuse my language if I say bad words about it. So, okay, if we go for the traditional networks that we know, the 2G, 3G, 4G, how they are advanced to 5G, what would happen from a connectivity perspective? We have seen a change in the SIM card size. And then it was a physical SIM until this one. This one is actually implanted inside your phone. You don't take it from the operator. You buy the phone with a built-in SIM card as a chip on the board of the phone. And then you take the phone to your mobile operator, ask him to configure the phone to work on their network. That's what we call integrated SIM. And we had the eSIM. That's actually a commercial name for the Embedded Universal Integrated Circuit Cards, or EUICC. These cards are actually a chip on the board, but it can accept soft configurations for multiple SIM cards. Similar to your phone, if you would like to have a phone that can have 2 or 3 SIM cards, now it's becoming a soft configuration. We call it SIM profiles. These are stored on the chips inside your phone. So if you go and buy a phone now, you might have it without a SIM. It comes with a built-in SIM that you take to your operator. What happens in this case, from a software perspective, that the mobile operator need to have a sort of software that will be able to remotely configure these phones. Similarly, the same will go for IoT devices. This type of SIM cards are installed in the IoT devices. That makes it easy for the IoT device to change the network provider if it flies from a country to the other. So if you're in Egypt, you go and use Orange Egypt, but if you are in France, you switch to Orange France remotely, switching the network in a different way other than what you're doing today. Today, if you travel from a country to the other, you need to be a roaming subscriber. But in this case, you will not be doing a roaming. You will actually switch to another local network provider. You will pay with the local fees. You will use the tariff for local calls and local data traffic. In IoT, we're very much concerned about the data traffic. There is no voice in the IoT world. There is no video in the IoT world. Cameras are not IoT devices. That's something else. Okay, there is a lot about this. You can get more information about it in these YouTube videos made public by different people from different organizations. What else happened in the wireless communication? In the first session, we have heard about the 6G and the use of non-terrestrial networks in IoT. This has actually started with 5G, and we have seen a lot of satellites, usually specifically low Earth orbit satellites. These are satellites that are flying in an altitude between 500 kilometers to 1,000 kilometers, somewhere in between.
Engineer Bassem, 5 minutes.
Great. We're about to finish. So these satellites in the past 3-4 years has grown dramatically, but most of them has been using proprietary communication based on UHF wireless communication. What's happening now is that these satellites are moving to 5G. And the good thing to mention here is the first satellite, LEO satellite that used 5G commercially is actually made by a company called OQ for Amr Qais. That's an Iraqi guy who has already launched 2 satellites in low Earth orbit and serving commercially in the Middle East. So if I summarize, this is the value chain. We talked about a wireless communications part here, and we need to talk about the platforms and the job market for every one of those quickly. So I'll take this in the detailed session that will be after the break. It will be in the same place. We'll have much more time to discuss this and go through the maturity levels of the smart cities, how smart cities has matured from the late 90s up to what we are doing today in different customers with the smart cities. Thank you. We might have time for questions if you like. Thanks a lot.
Any questions? Yes.
Hello,
Now I can hear you. Thank you. Go ahead.
I want to ask a question about the IoT challenges.
Yeah.
What is the challenge that an IoT faces and how to create this nowadays?
The challenges to do IoT solutions.
Yes.
Okay. And how do we solve it? Okay. Thanks for the question. This is a very important one, but it takes a lot of time to answer this. Maybe I'll put it in one slide quickly. What are the 5 challenges? Those are the 5 challenges that's facing any build-up of an IoT solution. The first challenge is actually what you will do to solve a problem. That depends on understanding the problem. We call it the domain knowledge. So if you're trying to solve a problem in agriculture, you need to study agriculture. If you're trying to solve a problem in medicine, you need to be aware of medicine. How do you solve the problem before IoT to make it in a better solution with IoT? So we call this, okay, sorry. We call this the domain knowledge. The second challenge is once you decided what type of sensing elements you will put in a car, or you will put in a refrigerator, or you will put in a washing machine, because you understood how the washing machine works and what type of problems you could expect, then you decided to put an element that will sense something in the washing machine. How to transfer the data from the washing machine to the outside world. This includes a lot of application protocols because it includes a lot of wireless communications as mentioned before. So that becomes a challenge number 2, data collection from tremendous number of devices. Storing this data, which is very, very few bytes that will come from every IoT device. IoT devices transmit very few bytes. But because the number of devices are really tremendous, then you need to collect all these small amounts of information and store it in an elastic storage. Elastic because it has to grow up with the time, because data will keep growing up forever. Such a challenge number 3. The real-time actions which you need to take on this massive amount of small, tiny data is actually the most complex challenge. The challenge number 5 is the data presentation to different types of devices, but this is really the easiest one. The most complex one is this one, and there is a way to solve it, very similar to what has been done in the telecom industry. In the telecom industry, you have, for example, in Orange, Egypt, you have 40 million subscribers talking to each other, generating a lot of calls every minute. How do they manage the real-time actions and the connection between one device and the other? That's very similar to what we do in IoT here, but on a larger scale. I hope I answered the questions. This is a very quick answer. Usually this takes about 30 minutes to explain. Okay, we will go through more details in the second session after the break.
There is another one.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
I'm just asking about internship in your company about IoT.
Sorry?
An internship in your company in IoT.
Okay, we're happy to provide trainings to a large number of students. How do we do this in a small company like ours? We do this in cooperation with ITI. So we do the trainings for undergraduates. We have 1-week training in different branches of ITI. We have a lot of instructors with hands-on experience in our company who will be with you for 1 week, teaching you how to do IoT solutions from A to Z. If you are more attracted to this, you can be one of the students for the postgraduate diploma. We have a 3 months postgraduate diploma presented in different branches in ITI as well. And if you are much more eager, you can join the 9 months diploma. This is where you have too much details of everything in IoT.
Is it free? Is it free?
It's totally free for students.
How many
All
students?
ITI activities are presented as a giveaway to students. And the 9 months diploma, ITI actually pays you to be dedicated for the diploma. So it's not just free, you get some money if you attend the 9 months as well.
Can I ask about the location and time for this internship? Or
All
before?
ITI branches have the internships, and I would say there is also online curriculum. Thanks for reminding me. On Mahara Tech, we have 5 IoT training courses that you can attend whenever you like on Mahara Tech, totally for free. But in the branches, in Alexandria, you have it. In Cairo, you have it. We have in Aswan, in Sohag, in Minya, Asyut. If we go down in North Cairo, we have, in north of Egypt, we have Alexandria, we have Shibin al-Qom, we have Mansoura. All these branches has IoT labs where you can also have hands-on experience. And the IoT labs are really not the Raspberry Pi or Arduino. You must have heard about this from everybody. Arduino and Raspberry Pis are just the tip of a long road that you need to learn. Forget about Raspberry Pis and Arduinos. These are not IoT. IoT is everything else after Raspberry Pi or Arduino. That's what you will learn in our IoT labs in ITI.
Thank you so much. I
thanks a
have a question. What is the role of AI, artificial intelligence, and your perspective for future IoT applications? You didn't.
Thanks a lot for this question as well. Collecting the data from the devices and moving it to the platform layer where you need to take real-time actions. This is where AI comes in. This is where you build your AI algorithms to decide what to do if next time another part of data comes in. So the algorithms keeps working to figure out what should be the next action and correct itself based on the algorithm. So in a later, if the same packet comes in, the action will be taken in a much quicker way. This is where AI algorithms come in. The problem we have today is that all IoT application enablement platforms work using JavaScript. And all the AI researches and libraries are coming in Python. There are libraries for AI in JavaScript, TensorFlow, for example, but it's not that famous. Nobody will teach you AI through JavaScript. You will always learn AI through Python. Python does not exist in the IoT world. It might be 0.001%, but none of the IoT guys who works on the platforms, on the cloud, will ever use Python. It has to be JavaScript, okay? For many reasons to be discussed.
Bassem, it's okay because there is a break.
Yeah,
and
I hope I answered the
Thank-
AI
thank
question
you very much.
quickly.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for everybody.
I just
for
have
this.
one point. You counted the number of jobs wide world, but in Egypt, what are the opportunities for IoT?
That's a difficult question, sir. Okay, so, in Egypt, we know that we need to have a big portion of the IoT jobs done from Egypt, and this was planned from the top. We started the IoT tracks in ITI 10 years ago with a plan that we need to take portion of this number of jobs done remotely from Egypt. Is this happening? How can we do it? Part of the implementation was invest in smart cities and let our people build it and live it. So we become the experts in smart cities for the rest of the world. This has started, but again, the competition that comes financially from everywhere, jumping in to take part of our smart cities, they even give the systems for free. to be the experts, not to allow us to be the experts. So the answer is, how many jobs do we have in Egypt for IoT and AI today? Nobody can tell. But what I can tell you is all the graduates of the IoT track find very attractive jobs. Just to mention one case, graduates of the track, all of the graduates went for one company to work for Etisalat to be working in new capital implementation. The next year, most of the graduates